Hello. I hope that you will play with us on an imaginary exercise. Imagine that you're part of a group that is going to create a campus for 4 nonprofit organizations. An early childhood nonprofit that will require 5 office spaces. A community art and cultural center with 2 studios and 1 exhibit/performing space. 1 family resource center that will require 5 offices and a kitchen. And food bank that will require a cooler, walk-in room for food storage for other food, and a kitchen. I'll come back to this slide. Can I show the second slide? The context is this. An old library has been decommissioned. So there is already a space to start with. The question is, how would your group rearrange that space or add to it to accommodate those needs that I just described? The first slide will come back on. You don't need to write it. You can consult with what you need. There is limited parking in this library, especially if you add to the footprint of the library. But the good news is that there is a bus stop nearby that connects you to the community. A public park is only 2 blocks away. Remember that as you're planning, so if you're tempted to create a small park, you may decide in your group, maybe we just direct people to the existing park. Is that kind of a conversation? The new public library is only 4 blocks away. There are 4 apartment buildings with 89 units nearby, and there is some government and private funding in place, enough to know that this project will happen. Your task in small groups is to do a conceptual, a draft, something very simple. It could look like this. The existing library, and you would decide 5 offices here, 5 offices here. You're not designing details. You're designing how this can coexist. You're not designing details, you're designing how these spaces can coexist. If there is a studio, decide to draw it into this place, and there is a kitchen, you may want to do it differently, but I'm illustrating the level of detail that I expect from you. You don't need to go much deeper. You may decide, however, that there is not enough space for all these activities in the existing building, so you add to it, which would shrink the parking spaces. Okay? All I'm asking you to do in the next 25 minutes, how much time? About 25 minutes, is to develop a conversation, and out of that develop this kind of a map for what your group will decide is the best place, the best way to proceed. In a real situation, then you would all compare notes, you would share your maps, learn from each other, and do it better next time around. But that's how the community process begins. Any questions before we launch in? Are you utterly confused? Okay, the best strategy I can recommend is go around very quickly and assign somebody to start drawing for you, and then you tell that person what to draw and where. You can cross things out if you disagree and use a new drawing. You can flip your flip chart paper around and start anew. Okay, yes. Couldn't hear.
Three stories tall. Can they assume?
No, the library is two-story building with about 80 by 80 square, 80 foot by 80 foot. May the force be with you. Go.
So I'm going to turn it over to Malenko now. And what we love to do is just ask some of you to share out what you have come up with and just share with the rest of the group what your ideas were.
Okay. Can I see by show of hands which group wants to show the poster you created and in 1 minute explain the key elements of your design? Who wants to do that? 1, we have time for 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's go with the first one, just a minute.
Yes. So everyone, on our ground floor, we have coming into the food bank, we've got vegetable and herb gardens. We've got a disabled parking and regular parking. And then we come into the food bank, we've got storage and the cooler. We've got stairs and elevator to the next floor. And we have office spaces for Family Resource Center and a kitchen, and the Family Resource Center itself. On the first floor, we have the elevator and stairs, so you can get upstairs.
Let's put it so other people can see it.
Sorry.
Some of you may wish to find better seats.
We have the Early Childhood Center, the Family Resource Center offices. Oh, these are the offices too. Then we've got the Community Art and Cultural Center, seating with a big stage, art studios and music studios. That's it.
Thank you.
Way out here.
Powerful.
Way out here. I'm Sam. I'm with Homage Senior Services. We're actually just down the road here on 196th and Linwood. Our table back there in the corner there. really leaned into the communal spaces. So on our first floor here in blue, we've got a community kitchen right in the heart of the building, surrounded by our food bank and their storage, the Family Resource Center and their offices. And then up on the second floor, we're sharing space between the Early Learning Center and the Cultural Arts. So they've got their studios here, the big performing arts space, which is also during the daytime a set-up, tear-down early learning space. The early childhood offices are here. We've got an elevator for accessibility, and then just an open communal space for everybody that works in the building.
Hello, my name's Hannah. I work at South Snohomish County Fire. I'm a care coordinator, and this is our table's rendition of the assignment. So first, you're going to have people entering into the Family Resource Center space, which then will have stairs off to the side and an elevator for access to go upstairs. In here, you can enter into the main kitchen, and then there's the kitchen for both the pantry for the food bank, thank you. And then there's a little bit of employee space back there too if it's needed for those spaces as well.
For cooling off.
Yeah. But we were thinking that style of when people go in and do their own shopping for their items, so they can pick what is needed for their item or for their families. We have 2 bathrooms off to the side here, and then we have 5 offices. These ones were hopefully going to be for the Family Resource Center. Moving on to our second floor, again, the stairs are kind of in the front with the elevator. We have our first performance studio. We have a little stage in there and some storage back behind it. And then a hallway that goes into studios, 1 and 2. And then we have, again, bathrooms and then offices over here. We have this mystery extra set of stairs, though. I wonder where it goes.
Where does it go? Where does it go?
The rooftop. Woo! So when you're up on the rooftop, you have access space that's kind of a space for people to come together and have community space, a place with tables, and then gardening all around, and some storage as well.
Wow. Well done.
Thank you.
I'm Shanti Johnson. I'm a community member.
I'm Reese Torval Hansen. I'm co-director of the Whatcom Food Network. Do you want to hold this for me? Yeah, we had great minds think alike because we also broke into 3 stories. So we were thinking here on the first floor that we wanted to kind of open up like a courtyard area where we have the family resources and the food bank sharing the kitchen and cooler storage access space, with the entrance to the building right here coming in. And it could be like a gathering place, and the artists that are working in the studios could have their work on display, and it could flex into a performance space as needed in the evenings. The second floor is primarily offices with the early childhood. And I want to point out that not only do we have an elevator and stairs, but we decided we needed a freight elevator so that we could move some serious stuff up and down, bring in some sculptures. And then 2 really big, nice studios so that, artist collectives could work in there, or individual artists. And we were really discussing, it's early childhood offices, but we wanted to design a building where parents felt welcome to bring their children and knew they would be safe. So on our roof, we decided to dedicate half of it to a playground and the other half to a garden space to be shared by the food bank. So culturally relevant foods could be made. There could be education for children, a little bit of storage, and again, freight elevator for moving some serious stuff up and down. Anything else you want to add?
Hello, my name's Tony. I'm lead mentor with Our Journey. I'm also a navigator with Underground Ministries, youth outreach advocate with YMCA Rec Center, and I participate with a few other organizations as well. So we went ahead and bought 2 blocks, and our entrance is the parking lot, has a huge space, and then also there's a big building for performing arts. There is an elevator that you can't see right here and stairway that goes to the this space, which is our connection space. And you walk in and you have youth services, daycare, and early childhood learning center. You have the reentry navigators here who help with everything that's going on in this space. We also have parental education, a kitchen and a pantry with the food bank there, and we have a cafeteria. Everything that flows through here is intersecting and connects with one another. And we also have a library on site Yeah, that's what we got.
What are the arrows?
The arrows are information resource. So like you walk through this space, you're gonna find some kind of information on what we're doing in our space. Yeah, and what's going on in all these buildings and offices. Yeah, and you won't just be flowing through there, you'll be greeted by a navigator for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. I feel like there was, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Scott. I'm with Project Access Northwest.
Louder.
A little bit louder? Okay. I'm Scott with Project Access Northwest, and my president and CEO and I came up with this plan. There were only two of us at the table, but so it was a little easier, but we developed a multi-use space that can be used during the day as well as nights, evenings, weekends. So we have our performance hall up here. The front of it has a rolling door with a integrated screen, and then we have a green space here so that on nights and weekends they can have events, have the screen open, and be able to use that. Then over here we have the food bank that has a cooler, a storage, a kitchen, as well as concessions that can also be used during the nighttime events, weekend events. Same here with the Family Resource Center. We have our 5 offices with a kitchen and a concession space. We also have our event space with the 5 offices and 2 studios, and then on the second floor is the daycare. These windows are strategically placed to face the screen here, so if they want to do a kids' night or something like that, the kids can be up here, still stay in the building, be monitored, and can watch what's going on there, and the parents can be down here doing their adult things. So that was our plan.
Wow.
Thank you. And Stephanie, are you ready to come up?
All right. Okay. Whew. So Julie and I had a very fun table, so we're very lucky. We spent most of this laughing.
Let me hold it up for you.
Okay. All right. So we have our ground floor, which is right here. There is an elevator that happens to be in the very center of the building. I'm not sure why, but that's where we put it. And then this area will be like a school cafeteria, basically. So there's the kitchen and the stage. And then in the middle, there's a kind of cafe area that can be deconstructed and reconstructed to also serve as the food bank floor space. So during food bank hours, there'll be like a shopping area where people can pick out their produce. And then during special events or the late evening, it's a cafe or an event space. And the storage for all that is here with the cooler and the storage. And you go up the elevator to the second floor, and it's a quieter space with, we put little exhibits up for maybe the kids to show their art projects or sculptures or, you know, whatever they have going on in these little glass cases. We have very large art studios and fairly small offices where people can choose to partition their little work areas or all work together, and windows there. And then a conference room where people can work collectively as well. And then up to the stairs, we have the rooftop where we also put a childcare kind of play area with a swing set, and we have some trees and some more kind of cafe space so that you can come up there, have your lunch, drink some coffee, and we have a community garden and some trees as well. So, thank you.
Well done. Can you put it on the wall there? Yeah. You can see how much good work happened in a very, very short time. What, you had 20 minutes to figure out something. Did any group make a perfect architectural rendition? The answer is no. And that's not the purpose. But in a real community meeting that I would run, you would all share And then I will ask you to work in small groups and start with a question. What did you hear from other groups that you wish was part of your plan? And you would identify other tables' great ideas and would integrate them into your current plan. We would give you a different color so we can see easily that anything, let's say in red, migrated from one table to another. We call this soft prioritization. Sean, when you talked about various methodologies, I would call that hard prioritization. You know, it's very systematic, but this is kind of just some things naturally rise to the surface. Imagine that repeating itself 3 or 4 times, and you would have the core of the design that you could then pass on as a community to the architectural firm and say, do one of this, and you're not limited to what you have done, but you need to tell us how you're going to build on our wishes, so that architects do not take over from what you've done, but build upon it. Folks, I know this is possible because I've built 60 projects using this methodology. And it relies on all of your minds, ideas, and also on your hands. And I strongly recommend when you want to enhance collaboration, use your hands, because hands know sometimes more than our brains do. Our brains are so conditioned by what we learned, and we do not think outside the norms. But when we draw, somebody like that group said, we need to have underground parking, or the roof can be something excellent here. Suddenly you start thinking about possibilities that the mind by itself would not tell you. So just a small example how collaboration can be put into a good use. Finally, I want to tell you that number of you told me as I wandered around, you know, we want to discuss something like this really happening in our region, some campus where different organizations can work together. Perhaps you can build on this momentum and start building towards something that becomes real in a few years. You want to close this?
Thank you again, Malenko. Yeah, I love the use of art to kind of release other thoughts that we might have about possibilities and imagination. Walida Imarisha says something about, Remy, you'll appreciate this. She says, all social justice begins as sci-fi, because we're imagining things that haven't yet existed in the world. And so this project, I think, also allows us to imagine things that haven't yet been. And with that, I want to invite Liz Baxter back on the stage here.